Hi, it's Lisa Cuneo, and welcome to my scrapbook table. Today's layout is for Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches series, and this is day 8. I'm doing the sketch that's by Kristen Foster of Scrappin' on the Fly. Today I'm using some Basil cardstock, some pink paper from an old Michaels pad, and some faith-based supplies from Bella Boulevard and Echo Park, and some of those were from my daughter. We recently, in the last month or so, have gone through some trying and worrisome times, waiting for medical tests and a diagnosis and the death of a family member, and just a lot going on. And so over the last month, the stress has sometimes been pretty overwhelming, and I wanted to document some things that have helped me cope. And this diagnosis that we've received is going to be an ongoing thing. And so I have a feeling I will need these coping mechanisms more. And I thought it would be helpful to have them here as a good reminder and something that I can go back to again and use when I need them. And I think it's a good story to tell. It's different than my usual layouts. So I started out by mounting the pink and coral papers there. I had also pre-printed some Bible verses that I've relied on a lot in the last month. This is just a sampling. Using my T-square ruler there to get that straight. I cut a piece of paper into strips, and this is from a collection called Illustrated Faith by Bella Boulevard. And there's a picture of me that was taken during this difficult month. That's just a couple other verses that I added to the left to balance out the ones on the right. The other photos you see, that one is a photo of some journal pages because I process by writing, and I wrote a lot, not just journal entries, but I wrote a lot of scripture out, and that was helpful to me as well. And so there's a picture of my journal with my favorite pencil, and yes, I do have a favorite pencil. Another photo shows 2 books that I've used lately. One is called Fear Less by Sarah Borgstead, and while I can't be fearless, I don't think I can work on fearing less, and I've appreciated her thoughts. The other one is called Anxious for Nothing by Max Lucado, and I listened to that, but I have a copy of the book as well to use sometimes. And there's a picture of, that one's actually my dad's New Testament that we had given him long ago. No, I think I'm wrong. I think this one was my husband's that I gave him. And so now I'm cheating. I needed those strips to go a little wider, and so I cut strategically to put them so that the gaps are where a photo will be and they won't show. I just needed them to go a little bit farther because this is a double page spread, and I hold it up there just to see if things look straight for me, because even when I use my ruler, sometimes things just look off a little bit, and it helps me to hold it up and look at it that way. So another part of this layout is a playlist that I made on Spotify. And at first I was going to cut out that list that I typed up there with a die that I have for sentiment strips. But for some reason it wasn't formatted correctly and it wasn't going to work. So then I thought, well, I'll just cut them out one by one on my trimmer. Well, I messed the first one up. So I opted to write them by hand between strips of paper in the gaps. And I'm actually really pleased with how that turned out. I think the handwriting gives a little bit of, it balances out the starkness of the black and white and the straight lines that are going on. So I was happy with how that ended up. In case you're interested, Some of my songs were The Battle Belongs to the Lord, Master, the Tempest is Raging, Praise You in This Storm, Surround Us, Lord, My Only Hope is You, Eye of the Storm, Fear is a Liar, Whom Shall I Fear? I'm No Longer a Slave to Fear, and His Eye is on the Sparrow, Blessings by Laura Story, and another one called Oceans. And that music was a large part of this story as well, so I wanted those songs to be on there. Now I'm looking through some embellishments, and I find a couple of hearts. The dark pink one doesn't end up staying. It stood out too much from the rest of the layout. I also cut out this little word love, and I had the perfect place for it, but it's just the wrong size, so it ends up not making the layout. And here is where I forget completely that I have two lovely sticker sheets that coordinate with all of this. So I go to my color bins. I pull out my red and pink one here, which takes me a little while to go through. I also pulled out my black and white one. I don't think that one's on camera. And I sort through that. I do find this vellum strip that I love, and it says God leads, I follow, and I really like it. The color worked. The only thing is the lettering was in gold, and then I felt like I was going to have to bring gold in other places to balance out that gold, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep this color palette that I already have going. And I find a couple labels and things to pull out, a couple of hearts. I do like that flower, but again, it has another color in it, and I wanted to avoid adding color. I use a die from Elizabeth Craft Designs to cut out some grid paper that I will use for my handwritten journaling. And this journaling will end up tucked behind the pink paper in a pocket that I create. This Big Shot is about 16 years old, I believe. I've had it forever. It has seen heavy use, and it's still going strong. So while I would kind of like a shiny new one, I just can't justify getting rid of one that works perfectly well. And there I'm trying to work in that vellum piece, and ultimately I just end up setting it aside. There you can see I'm mulling it over. And then I find this typewriter and realize that's perfect. It fits the theme that I'm doing a lot of writing, and I really like it. I also added a sentiment strip up there that says better days ahead, because yes, while there will be some difficult days, there will also be better days ahead, and that's a good reminder. I add a puffy black and white heart there on the left, and I'm trying to add this label. In fact, I go through a few different labels thinking I'm going to tuck them in along some strips, but it ends up looking crowded, so I don't do that. I found this word loved, and I like how it bridges the gap between the end of that black strip and the white typed verses on the right. So I end up putting that there, and I'm happy with it. I have this black and white frame that I love, and if I had found it earlier in the process, I think it would have made the page, but at this point, it's just not going to work, so I set it aside for another day. I pull loved off of the acetate there, poke out the little pieces that are in the tiny letters. And see there, I have my tweezers. And at some point between now and finishing the page, I lose the tweezers and can't find them. They have to be at my desk because I didn't move. And here I decide I need that white strip to go out a little farther, and the black as well. I add the date, which is May and June of 2023. And here's where I'm deciding what I'm going to do with my journaling. And now I remember the sticker sheets. So I pull out a little word that says pray, because that was a huge part of this for me as well. Right now it's on the right, but it ends up moving to the other side of the layout. Beside the date, I added a word that says unfinished, because this story is unfinished. We're not sure how that's going to work out. But we have faith, and I added a sticker there that says that as well. I find a couple of hearts that look nice. And I find one more and add it there, which that little spot really needed something, so I was happy to find that. Here are some still shots. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.